I'll leave the light on for you. I was pulling a guard shift in the CHS on FOB Spiker one night in Iraq. There hadn't been any action for the whole previous week, so the staff was all racked out. I was walking the halls and everything was supposed to be off or on standby. I walked past one room that they used for locals who were victims of trauma. The lights were on, so I toggled the switch down to turn them off. I started walking down the hall again, and I saw the lights come back on out of the corner of my eye. This is when I went into alert mode, safety off, at low ready. I cleared the corner and looked into the room. Nothing. I put the switch back in the down position again and went to call it up on the intercom. The radio was on the fritz, so I began walking back to the CQ desk to report it in person. The lights turned back on. At this point, I'm a little on edge. I can't radio in for help, and there is nobody on this side of the compound that would hear me yell, and the light switch position keeps changing when the lights go back on. Keep in mind that I'm on a forward operating base in a combat zone. I don't know what I was expecting when I went to clear the corner and look into the room again, but I saw nothing but an empty room, a gurney, a heart monitor, and a crash cart. I couldn't tell you to this day why I said what I did, but I was worried that if I didn't, the lights would keep switching back on. I said, "If you're scared of the dark, I'll leave the light on for you." I finished my shift and left the light on. I left a note with the desk that one of the surgeons had asked me to always leave that light on just in case they had an emergency come in. For the remainder of my shifts, that light had always remained on. Med student delivers baby from dead woman. When I was on an ER rotation during med school, we got a call about a 23-year-old woman who was shot in the head and who was already completely gone, but was reportedly 5 months pregnant, so they were doing CPR until they got her to the hospital to see if the baby was viable. They got her to the ER and did an ultrasound, and turns out that the baby was full term, so they did a C-section in like under a minute and got the baby out. I don't think it's so incredibly uncommon, but it was pretty surreal to see a baby delivered from a dead person with their brain exposed, and she was pretty close to the same age I was at the time. In 2 places at once. I used to work in a state institute for developmentally disabled. We were temporarily relocated to another building for remodeling of our building. Anyways, I was working one night, second shift. We had a locked PICA unit. I saw one of the residents walking down the hall, very distinct gait and very distinct yellow t-shirt with a happy face on it. I went into the ward to let staff know that they had an escapee. This was a serious situation, because this particular resident, Larry, would ingest absolutely anything, from clothing to pens to belts to, a bird's head. Literally anything. He was also very reluctant to go back to his home ward, hence why I didn't bring him back myself. He needed 2 escorts. When we got back into the hall, less than 15 seconds later, Larry was gone. We searched the entire building, outside, downstairs, all wards. He was nowhere to be found. This whole search lasted less than 10 minutes because I had all extra staff looking for him. I was just about to call the house supervisor to let her know that we lost someone when out from the bathroom walks Larry with one of the staff. He had been getting his bath in the bathroom for the last 30 minutes or so. Kind of freaky. I absolutely, without a doubt, saw Larry in the hallway. I never would have short-staffed the wards like I did if I hadn't seen him. Like I said, very distinctive gait, look, clothing. I took a lot of razzing that night. They all thought that I was crazy. Anyway, come to find out the next day, after the story goes around, that I am crazy. Larry had an identical twin brother who died in that building 10 years previously.